Hey guys, welcome to Bobini Creates. My name is Jeannie, and in today's video I wanted to share with you the brand new Woomer watercolor paint set. Woomer reached out to me and asked if I'd like to try them out, and of course I said yes. So here they are. It looks like we've got 36 colors. It says easy to blend, easy to activate, rich color. Comes with one sponge, one color chart, two water brushes, and a built-in palette. So we'll take a peek at that. And then it also came with some watercolor paper. So let me just go ahead and open this up. See here. So yeah, it's real nice cardstock, and let's see here. Yeah, it looks like 10 pieces of watercolor paper, so that'll be fun to try out, you know. So let's see here. I'm gonna flip it over, and here's the colors. Looks like we've got just the traditional named colors. Let me bring this up here a little bit so you can see it. Gosh, I'm really sorry about that glare. Let me tilt it a little bit so it doesn't do that, and I hope you can still read. But yeah, I think that'll be fun. I love this size. I'm a real big fan of travel size watercolor paints. I used to love going out and just parking somewhere next to like a building or something that I wanted to sketch. And I always appreciate having everything at my fingertips, you know, so you really do here. Here's the color swatch chart, and that's on nice paper as well. Oh, this is cool. So it's got, looks like it's got a palette right here. Um, and then it's got little, you can use this as palettes too, because can you see how it's kind of divided? So you've got lots of different areas that you can use as palettes. That's cool, especially when you're out and about and you may not have, you know, anything else at your fingertips. I think that's pretty cool. And these sponges, I remember seeing in someone else's video one time. One of the questions that was in the comment section was like, what do you do with the sponges? What I don't know, you know, what you guys use them for, but what I use them for is after I'm done painting my piece and I need to switch colors, I go ahead and squeeze the water brush off in the sponge, and then you can clean it that way. And that saves you, if you're just grabbing, you know, this travel set and you're on the go, you're not having to grab, you know, all your paper towels or art, you know, cloths or whatever that you normally would use. It's just super convenient, I think. So that's what I use them for. And typically you can take these out. Yeah, you can. And rinse them out. And hey, if you didn't want to use it for the sponges, you could also use that for another little palette area. So that's cool. But I do like using these. I think they're helpful. The other thing is if you get too much water on your brush, you can just dab it off also. And I think that's super useful. So let's see here. It came with a flat brush. I actually don't have one of these in a water brush. Mine all have, you know, more rounded or pointed tips. So that's pretty cool. Um, it did say, I think, that it came with two water brushes. Let me just look real quick. And mine came with one, so take that for, but it says it came with one sponge and it comes with two, so I don't know. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get this swatched, and I'll be right back with you. I was able to get these swatched, and so I did that off camera just to, you know, save you from having to watch me do that. And I just sort of took my time with it and tried to do sort of a neat job. While I had my paintbrush loaded up, you know, my water brush, I went ahead and I did another version for my sample book, for my swatch book rather. So let's take a look at these though. So one thing right off the bat that I had noticed is that, let's see here, this one right here, I don't know if you can see, but it says Lotus Green. and clearly that's more of a violet color. Matter of fact, it looks real similar to this violet here. So I don't know what happened with that, but just to kind of point that out. I did notice, let's see, I ended up, I'll show you in a moment, but I ended up using this turquoise green for a page, and I'll show you that here in a second. But some of these are very similar, but on my end, you can see a difference, but I will admit they are pretty similar. But I loved, like, I love these greens. I can just picture a lot of these being so pretty in landscapes. Look at all the, the yellows and browns and grays, in here. I just think here's another iron red, but to me that looks more like it's just a good brown, really. So I think these are going to be super fun for doing landscapes, but obviously so many things. So I enjoy doing that. So that I'll set that off to the side. I had also mentioned that it's fun to see how small this is. I mean, let me bring it back over here, just really like the size of my hand. And I love that. I love, love, love these travel watercolor sets. So one thing I love to do with them is to sketch. Now I'm just going to show you something. This is from a long time ago, and this is mixed media. It's not watercolors, excuse me, watercolor paper, but you can see back in 2015. But I was just sort of hanging out and decided to sketch picture of our greyhound, and then to add a little bit of watercolor from a travel palette. So obviously those weren't Woomers because I didn't have them yet, but I just wanted to demonstrate how easy it is just to bring this on the road with you and just to sketch and to color. And I love just being able to get out in nature and do things like that. So it's all by myself and just enjoying my sketching and my painting. So this set would be phenomenal for that. When I did these, it was a much smaller set, and so I'm just thrilled to be able to have this larger set of 36. I think that was all I had in here that I wanted to show you. Let me just look real quick. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So just get adventurous. I mean, yeah, we love coloring in our coloring books, but if you love just getting out with your coloring books or your sketch pads, that's going to be so much fun. So I wanted to try out in a coloring book. So I got World of Flowers. I wanted to test this out, especially the darker colors, just to sort of see if it was going to bleed through or anything. So I used the color palette test page, and I used just the darkest, purple in there, just for the purpose of seeing if it bled through. And it did not bleed through. I mean, this is just grunge on the on the back of my test page, but you can see right here's where the flower is, and there's maybe a little bit of shadowing, but honestly I thought it was going to be more than that, and it wasn't. These books have never been particularly, I don't know, watercolor friendly in my opinion, but you can do it. And especially if you're a new colorist, just keep in mind that you can use water mediums in your coloring books, of course. You just have to be careful about the amount of water that you add. So you can, like here, I went ahead and I did a base layer on these leaves for this sort of wallpaper page. I did a base layer of the Woomer watercolors, and then you can just go over them. So that's the main reason that I like to use them in the coloring book. So I use a small amount of water, so you can get a more vibrant look if you use less water. I just sort of did I guess, kind of a medium amount here. And then what I did is I went over it with my Woomer pencils, which if you don't have those, they're really a nice pencil. So I ended up, let me just see here so I can tell you, I used that, what did I tell you that was? The turquoise green here, the turquoise green in the watercolor for all the leaves and stems. And then I'm just going to take my time and go over with the pencil. So what I did is my darkest color here, cobalt turquoise, right here. And I label mine with a bigger number. I do my own numbering system on a lot of them. Sometimes I use their numbers depending But I go ahead and I number my own just because it's easier on my eyes to be able to see what they are. So I use that for the darkest color, and then I used a light aqua for my kind of lighter color, and then I came in with white. So what I did is you can sort of see, but I went in here with the darkest color on the edges, and then I came in with this next color and just kind of blended, and then finally the white, just very lightly in the center for a little bit of shine. And then I went back over it with that lighter color just ever so softly, just to kind of knock back the white. So that's what I did on these, and I'm just going to go ahead and continue that. I think it's going to turn out really pretty, and I really enjoyed using the watercolors, and I went ahead and I used the brush that came with it, and it worked perfectly. I love that, that little flat brush. It also enabled me to get into the little pointy areas pretty good as well. One little trick, if you do have trouble, getting every little part, chances are you can go in with your color pencils and you can get in some of those smaller pieces with a color that matches pretty well. So that's what I did here, but I'm having so much fun. So let me go ahead and set this aside. This book is translated as Teddy Bear Therapy. I am so sorry. I do not know how to pronounce it in French, but it's by Diane Dufour. Beautiful book. And I thought this one would be just something that I could try that was different. I already tried out World of Flowers, the Johanna Basford book. And then I thought, you know what, let's try a different book and see how it behaves on that. And plus, I also wanted to try out some different colors and just see what I thought on this page. So, and then the other thing I wanted to do is just to use various colors just to see if I could try something that wasn't just, a flat green and like I did on that last book. So I'm coloring the sky in here and just kind of keeping it loose. I'm trying not to get too carried away with being super, super careful, but I go ahead and I do that whole background. What's funny is when I went back later to color these individual leaves, I kept finding places where I had missed the like little negative space between the leaves. Kind of looks like another leaf. So whenever I'd finish a color, I'd stop and a couple times I went back in and I tried to fill in those negative spaces with the blue, and and darned if I didn't find were places where I had missed several more times. So go figure, it's just kind of what I do. But here I'm just using, what color did I choose here? It was their rose red, and just kind of going here and there on various leaves and skipping different leaves and just trying to kind of, what my idea was just to spread out the different colors that I wanted to use. So you can see I've got my little palette. And by the way, I do have a little page protector underneath it. You can't see it because it's clear, but I would never just set that directly on a page because I'd be afraid of, getting it wet or whatnot. So yeah, that page is protected, just so you know. But yeah, so I'm just going in and I'm selecting, the various colors. This next one that I chose was the violet. And so just kind of going in with a little bit of water and adding the color to my palette. Now I could paint directly from the set, but that would result in a really super vibrant color, and I just wanted it sort of toned down, so hence the addition of, water and then mixing it. So that's what I did here. So this is the violet, and I do the same thing, just kind of go back and forth, skipping different leaves in here and making note of all those negative spaces that I kept missing, that were supposed to be sky blue, right? Oh, actually, I never did say what color the sky was. That was actually cobalt blue, by the way. So, yeah, so we'll go ahead and just continue on with this, and I'll be back in a moment. My third and final color, leaf color, that I decided to use was medium yellow. And what was cool though is I'm always looking for different shades of yellow. I feel like I use them a lot. And like in this palette, I could have selected the lemon yellow, then I use that medium yellow, or there's iron yellow. Down at the bottom left corner of the palette, there's yellow ochre. So, I mean, there's a lot of different choices. The other thing too is I could definitely blend, and I was kind of pointing to a couple of other different, yellows and oranges, just to thinking that maybe I would blend a color, but in the end, I just decided to go with this medium yellow, without mixing it. Really, there's so many different colors here that you can mix, but quite honestly, I don't know that I'm going to need to do that too often. And that's what's neat about having a little travel palette that has so many different colors in it. So now I'm going in and I'm coloring the bark. And gosh, what did I use on that? I wasn't looking, paying attention here, but I think what I used on that to start with was the iron yellow for the lightest color, and then you'll see me go in with um, the burnt umber and the raw umber. Yeah, just to kind of deepen it up. What I tried to do is just to sort of get a base coat over the whole thing, and then you'll see me kind of dry it off and add some different shadows here and there, and just try to make it look a bit dimensional, and try to get those little ridges in the branch to pop out, And I love how quick it's going. This page is just zipping by. I realize this is, I've got it on sped up a bit, but even so, man, this was a quick page, and I think it's pretty darn cute. So I did that, and then now let's see here. I'm going in with that, like I mentioned, with the darker colors here. So that one was actually the raw umber, and the other thing too on these paints is, you can definitely go in like I'm doing here with the darker colors, but you can also achieve a darker or richer color by going over it after it dries with the same color. I mean, that's another option for you as well, just to kind of deepen it up. So, whatever works, but this is, here I'm adding little shadows underneath him, and I'm really liking the way that's looking, and I'll tell you, I was having a blast. This was this was so easy to color, and it just really came together easily for me. Oh, here you go. I'm doing just exactly what I said a moment ago, where I had already put a layer of burnt umber down, and I'm just going over that again and making it a little bit darker, and now I'm adding a little bit of accents as well. See how much darker that is, richer. So yeah, it's just another thing that you can do. And let's see, yeah, a little bit more shadow up there. Obviously here I'm not using their brush. I didn't want to use a flat brush. This is an old, I think, Pentel brush. I mean, I have a bunch of different watercolor brushes, but it was just the size that worked for me. So, okay, here we go. We're going to start on the bear now, and I chose the iron yellow for the whole base coat. Isn't that funny how dark that looks when you look on the actual paint itself? The paint set itself does not look brown, but it's really not. It's a beautiful iron yellow is what it's called. But anyway, so I'm going through and I'm just putting that over everything on the bear just to make it a, my lightest layer, and pretty light. And then you'll see me go in a moment and kind of shade it up and add some dimension to it. He's so cute, just sort of, I would say sunning, but he's probably pretty shaded in that tree. Isn't that cute though? This book is precious. It's so cute. So yeah, always drying in between or letting it sit and dry. I'll tell you, if you try to go back over it and it's still wet, it will not hold it. You really do. It's important that you dry it in between or let it sit and dry. And you'll see me flip the page there a second ago, and I dry the other side of it just to make sure that I got it real good. So now I think we're going to use another color here, maybe. Yeah, so we're back to, let's see, the darker color. I say back to, but we're using a darker color. This is the burnt umber. And here's where I'm going in doing a little bit of shading. And I'm just leaving the highlight at the top, you'll see. So the darkest is obviously at the bottom where, there's less light. So a bit of shadow. And then it just sort of gradually goes up to the lighter part on the top. So the only part that's that original base layer is just the sun-kissed portion at the top of the bear. So yeah, just kind of going over everything, making him a little bit uh, darker on the bottom areas, and really everything except for the little bit of light at the top that I wanted to leave. And drying it off again. But I think that's a really good color combination for the bear, don't you? Isn't that cute? I really like it. Okay, so here we go back in, and we're just going to go ahead and we're going to deepen that same color again and doing another layer. And you can do that again because we've dried in between, and that's super important to remember to do that. So painting on a coloring book page with watercolor is different than you would if you were coloring using watercolor on a paper that could handle it, right? You want to use as little water as possible, like I had mentioned. You can see me feeling it to see if it's still cool, that means it's not dry. So I keep feeling it to see if it's dry. Um, but the name of the game when you're doing a coloring book page is just to use the smallest amount possible on the water, and making sure it's dried in between, and then just deepening that color bit by bit, layer by layer, until you've got the desired effect. Oh, this is fun. I'm making little cheeks and little color in his ear. So cute. Okay, so I think I'm going to call that good for now. Basically, I just really wanted to keep this really light and breezy and just sort of flowy. If I wanted to, I could go back over with pencil. That's one thing about when we use watercolors in our coloring books is you just don't want to get them too wet, so that it doesn't peel the paper, or cause it to warp too much. This did a little bit, but it'll straighten out. But really, I kind of feel like this could be good right here if I wanted it just to be really light and freestyle. I could just leave it like this, but the other option is I could definitely come in with pencil and do shading, on the leaves, wherever I want to. But I just wanted to show that you really could just do it all with watercolor if you wanted to. This was so much fun for me, just to kind of show you. Bring this back here. These are beautiful colors. I'm pleased with it. It was so fun to use, and it was really quick, which is another fun thing about using these. So I'm pleased. I love the colors. They were easy. They activate real well. And yeah, overall, just a fun experience. So um, Woomer did tell me that they were offering a 10% discount if you wanted to use that through the end of April. So I'll go ahead and I'll link that in the description box below if you wanted to use. So I just want to thank you for joining me on this little video. It was a lot of fun for me to go ahead and paint this, and I really appreciate you just kind of sticking with me as we explored this beautiful set. So thanks again, and I will look forward to seeing you on my next video. Bye everyone.